Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot and welcome to today's reading. This is Living in Your Truth. This is the one that's all about you. So, we have a reading that is devoted to your divine masculine. We have one that is devoted to the third party energies. We even have one that is devoted to that new incoming soulmate energy. So we've got to have one that's about you. So that's what this is. And we're going to go ahead and jump in, renew that energy, understand what's happening there, and get you something to work with here. So we'll start out with looking at the energy that's happening around you and just kind of what you're attracting and what you're putting out there, which oftentimes, if I've ever read for you and, just done a personal reading for you, it's probably often comes in as one and the same. So if you need a personal reading, the Etsy link is down there. But, oh, and by the way, that is the only way to get a reading from me. So there's none of this me approaching you stuff. Sometimes we see that out there. That's not going to happen. If you need a reading, you just come to me. You go to the Etsy link and we'll go through there. So this is going to be a general reading for this collective, as always, but all the readings are very much connected. So if it's you, check out some of the other series, some of the other readings in this series. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's see, what is this deck? This is the Tarot of, oh gosh, hold on, I want to get it right. Sacred Kingdom, sorry. It's the Tarot of the Sacred Kingdom, and this is the Chrysalis Tarot. Now this one I always get it off by like a word, so I just wanted to make sure I got it right. And this is the Spirit Animal Oracle, which is actually where we're going to start for you. Get you a quick Oracle card to start things out and just maybe get you a message to get things flowing. Let's see what just fell. Oh, looks like it fell face down. Hopefully this isn't one of those days where I drop a lot of cards. Okay, so we have the Swan Spirit. Time for a deep dive. That's energy that has been coming out a lot. It's been coming out a lot in these readings. It's been showing up in the personal readings. Just the idea of really needing to take a deeper dive to understand a little bit more about yourself and the things that are happening around you. So it ends up being more, not just a deep dive about you, but also a deep dive around your overall situation. And things that are connected to you. Maybe even revisiting some of your hobbies, your relationships, interactions, those types of things. So time for a deep dive, and that is a very special card. It feels like a heavy hitter, but it also feels like something that several of you would look at it and say, yes, I'm already in the process of doing a bit of a deep dive right now. So one of the things that you may want to look at is just kind of what kind of tools are you using? What sorts of processes are you using? Because just wanting to do a deep dive doesn't necessarily get you there. So think your way through it. Come up with something that or work on a way to use something that's going to get you where you want to go. Everybody's process might look a little different. That's another thing. So I can't just say here's the one thing that you'll want to do, but let's get you some advice. Let's start with that energy that's happening around you right now. So like I said, what you're attracting, what you're putting out there, what is happening in your energy right now. So let's see here. We have this one's coming out. We've got the Hermit and the Seven of Cups. And then let's go ahead and pull one more card. There it is, Nine of Cups in the reverse. Having a pretty solid idea of what it is that doesn't make you happy here. But with the Seven of Cups, also understanding that you're not in a locked situation. This is the energy of that deep dive. It's the energy with the Hermit of going in and thinking about things a little bit more deeply. So again, putting a little structure around that might be helpful, but not everyone's structure will look the same. With the Seven of Cups, definitely needing to understand what your options are and that you have options, because sometimes we can get into these situations and it's just frankly hard to remember. Then with the Nine of Cups, this is the pressure. This is the pressure of definitely either having to deal with something that is maybe making you a little less happy, or at least just being very aware of it. There's something about a memory, a strong memory of something that makes you very unhappy, or it's either happening right now or it's really strong in your memory. That's basically what I'm trying to say. It is not a far off, distant memory. You know exactly what you don't want. Building what you want it's helpful to understand what it is that you don't want. So you've got the Queen of Mirrors, which is absolutely the card that I was thinking of when I pulled out this deck. I was thinking about, I might think about a lot of things when I pull out a deck. And when I pulled out this one, I thought of this card, Queen of Mirrors. So the interesting thing about the Queen of Mirrors is, for me, for this deck, every time I pull it, it feels like something that hasn't been discussed or hasn't been fully put out there. There's some sort of limitation. There's some sort of, they can't say it. It's usually the divine masculine not being able to say something. In this reading, when we're looking at the energy that's coming out around you, this is definitely somebody not being able to say something about how they feel. But with it being in the reverse like this, it also has that element of being a triggered feeling. So you may be kind of in a place where you're in hot pursuit of some sort of wisdom over here, and that's kind of your focus. And in comes some sort of BS over here. And, I just can't think of a better term. This is something that does not match your vibe, but you are going to have to deal with it. Or you may already be dealing with it. I know some of you already are. Some of you who have the honor and distinction of being at the front end of that timeline are like, what is this? So we have, the Queen of Stones in the reverse. It totally throws you for a loop. Seven of Scrolls. Figure out where you stand with yourself. Knight of Spirals. Guess what? You are totally in a position to be able to manage this. So I believe it is overall short. It is of short duration. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's just easy. Like, I do still think this is going to be some sort of challenge for you. I am seeing no card that says here comes a challenge, but I am seeing that here comes something that is, it feels like it's careening toward you, honestly. It feels like it's careening toward you. I already know it's going to be fine. You're going to lead everyone out of this. Whatever this is, you will lead everybody out of this. But this Seven of Scrolls in the reverse and the Queen of Stones in the reverse tells me that you may not feel super confident while you're doing it. But there is something deep down here, and I feel like this is not something that you just developed. But it is maybe something that you have recently become better at drawing upon. This is your own internal strength. It's your own ability to just kind of do what needs to be done. It's got that sense of doing what needs to be done. And this one, again, it's that sense of leadership. So this is fire energy. It's a Knight of Fire energy. So it's really kind of, usually I get leadership out of a King of Spirals. Okay. And it reads like a King of Spirals. I might have even said that. It reads like a King of Spirals, but it is a Knight of Spirals. This is trying out because you have that sense of, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I don't really know how to do this. But yet this sense of doing actually kind of a good job. So you're in a situation that you are basically attracting in a learning experience that you are going to lead everyone through, but it's not a comfortable one. It makes you feel like maybe you've got some things that you're lucky that you have that strength to rely upon, because this is something that throws you off kilter. We have an Eight of Scrolls here in the reverse. Overthinking will not be helpful to you in this situation. It is rarely helpful, but it really isn't going to be helpful to you here. You're going to have to go with the kind of, rather than you have the options when you think through things or when you feel through things. Do you feel through things like in the minute detail, or do you go kind of broad strokes? And this is a situation where it feels like you might want to go both emotionally and logically more in a broad stroke sort of situation. So this is not micromanaging a situation. This is not overthinking. You will be holding on too tightly and losing control of it if you do that, if you micromanage. So keep that in mind. Keep in mind that no amount of your charisma is going to resolve this situation. This is going to be something that has to come from your inner strength. And you have it. Like everything here shows that you have it. So it's a challenging situation that you have coming in, and that's something that you're attracting to yourself because you're ready for it. So it's not small, it's not comfortable, but you are ready for it, and you are pretty much going to know throughout the entire situation, even in the most dire of moments, if you have any dire moments, because this doesn't read as like particularly dire, but there's definitely some off kilter stuff. So even during those moments where it's the most challenging, that's where you're going to really realize, no, I'm still solid on the inside. I still have that sense of strength, that sense within me. So that's important, I think. Understanding that that foundation really is there and really is functioning as a solid foundation in the time that you most need it. But you just got to remember, like it says, not to overthink. Okay. So I looked over there. I already knew what my next question was going to be. A lot of times I come up with at least my very first question, and then I'll just let that guide me. And I do that when I get to the extendeds too. I'll start with something that seems really clear that we need to understand, and then I'll move to the next logical question, whatever that is. So I already knew what my next question was going to be here, or at least what I thought I wanted it to be, and I could not have set us up better for kind of understanding this. You know that your foundation is going to be working because it is shaken. Okay. You have a challenge coming for you while you're focused on something that you should be focused on, and it's going to throw you off balance. So, even though that's happening, even at the toughest, whatever the toughest point is in that, you're aware that you're going to be fine. Your foundation is working. So let's understand what this is, and I'll tell you what the question was that I had come up with. I came up with it during my meditation this morning. So many of you know I have some very specific mantras that I meditate to. You can see them. They're out in the bonus videos. I put out videos around meditation and those mantras a couple years back. And anyway, I was doing the one this morning around gratitude, and I just knew I had to ask the question, like, what is coming for you that you would use in your gratitude meditation? So if you did a gratitude meditation, what would you be grateful for? Because I use like the most horrendous stuff sometimes to explain to myself, or to make an example that shows, here are some moments that are particularly difficult that I'm grateful for because they help to shape me, because they help to make me the person that I am today, because I am able to do the things, those types of things. And so I'm grateful for everything, all of the lessons, everything that came through. That's part of the mantra. But sometimes, in order to make the gratitude meditation, it kind of has to be a little intense. And it feels like you may have something coming in here that will make your gratitude meditation, would be intense enough for that. So, I mean, in the day to day, even things of relatively average, high average intensity will still make that gratitude meditation for me, because I do it every day. So it's like, what has happened in the last 24 hours? And sometimes I got some stuff. And so what's coming in for you that you would be able to use for that type of gratitude meditation? What sort of experience are you going to have that your first experience, or your first priority will be to have the experience? You won't be thinking about the impact on your gratitude while you're having it, whether it's super positive or super, not necessarily negative, but, something that like this over here could be on that list. We have the star, you straightening up and flying right. Well, what does that mean? So it doesn't necessarily imply that you weren't on a good path before. That's the interesting thing about it, because this was almost like a very gentle way of saying straightening up and flying right, because you're not in a bad place to begin with. But this is going to be a nuanced shift to your direction that is going to mean everything. Okay, that's what's coming up. It feels as big as it is, but it is not necessarily something that takes a bunch of resources. So it might be a complete step change, complete directional change in your life, but it may cost you nothing. It might be that sort of thing. And then we also have the Four of Swords. So there is a dramatic amount of healing opportunity, that it's not just the opportunity that like comes in because now you have something to heal from. you've maybe got some of that too, but you already have things to heal from. This is the dramatic, cathartic type of healing that you are here for, in this whole process. You came to this process, not to this channel. I mean, maybe you came to this channel too. I'm just pointing at it and saying, here it is. This is that catharsis. This is that healing. It's coming for you. So you've got an Eight of Wands here and a quickening of the energy. There's a definite quickening of the energy, movement in a direction that really does feel like a nuanced change that makes a huge difference. Huge amount of healing actually takes place here, and it feels like it happens in some sort of a catharsis. So you have a lot of intensity coming in that form. That can be incredibly positive. So things that are coming in for your gratitude your meditation, if you were to do a gratitude meditation the way that I do it, the things that would be coming in for you, an extreme amount of cathartic healing that just hits you. Like it hits you, you've been doing the work, but it all kind of culminates in this catharsis. And I feel like it's very personal. You may share it with somebody if that's the nature of things, but it may be something that you simply experience within yourself, and it's like a leveling up, and it happens in a short enough time that the time that you would be able to go to like a journal and say, oh my gosh, last night or this morning or this afternoon, whatever time it was notable enough to make your gratitude meditation. Also with the Eight of Wands, though, with the quickening of energy, it seems like it unlocks something for you. So you're not just letting go and letting something change. You are you're shifting into a new kind of situation. So this is interesting. This quickening of the energy reminds me of one of the messages that has been coming out in the recent readings. Okay. And it has been about what happens if the manifestation energy has gone back closer to normal. So how do I still manifest? And the answer was to utilize momentum. This quickening of the energy is the sort of eddying of the energy that you would want to use to allow yourself to move forward. So with the Lover's card, there's some sort of bond that is being blocked. Most of you could easily identify what that is, but it's not going to be the same for everybody. In some cases, it's going to be an arrangement that you're making to block a bond, and it could be you're making an arrangement with the person with whom you share the bond to say, hey, we're not going to interact anymore, or something like that. I mean, that's obviously not everybody, but in some cases, I even know in one case it's a matter of the person that comes to these readings is in a relationship with somebody who has had third-party interaction that they have asked them to stop having. Okay, and so it's promising to deny that bond because the third-party interaction is a different bond. And so even saying that that's not going to continue is kind of this. It's that same message. We have a Nine of Spirals, a lot of defensiveness to work through. Something here requiring some defensiveness, hurt feelings, unwillingness to launch. The fact that this energy includes a quickening does not necessarily mean that all the energy around it moves the same way. So I feel like there's a sense of things not necessarily going the direction that they're supposed to go for a little while, and not being sure what the answer is going to be. There is not a definite answer here. There is not a definite like neat and tidy package. Everything gets wrapped up into a bow. It's not like that. There's stuff that it gets left hanging. So as you're working through this situation that kind of gives you all of this cathartic healing, you still come out of it like feeling a little ragtag, feeling a little like you need a break. but not really in a position to be able to go get one. So that's another thing to think about here, is this is not the energy of something slowing down and starting to land and you get to rest. That's not what that rest and rejuvenation is not really what's coming out there. And here we have it again with the Four of Scrolls, healing, intense healing, cathartic healing, but not the sort of rest and rejuvenation that you might sometimes expect when you see the Four of Scrolls, because that's that air energy, like that Four of Swords that we had up there. We have an Eight of Mirrors here coming out in the reverse. Returning to a concept that has been super important in the past, but this time with some different ideas. So it's like deciding to try something again. This is the energy of some of you. That new incoming energy is the energy of an older connection. So a soulmate that you already knew about this person. This is a relationship that you already had, okay? And in some cases this is returning, but returning to do things a little differently this time. And so that's going to be relevant for those of you where you're trying to make something work again with an old connection, or you're trying to find peace in a connection that has been troubled and difficult, and you've got a divine masculine that's been in and out and in and out, and you're trying to come into union, you know. So some of you, it's going to be coming back in that way. That's obviously not going to be everybody, but there's definitely a return to something that you thought wasn't going to work, but you're going to give it another try. You have the Five of Mirrors here in the reverse, realizing that sometimes what you think of as success is not necessarily the only way that success can happen. So the Five of Mirrors in the upright has a lot of this regret and this feeling of things really not having gone the way that you want. It's sadness, shame, regret, things really just feeling kind of rough. In the reverse here, a lot of times what that will give you, or what that will mean, is that you don't get what you wanted. You don't get the one. You have to settle for something different. But what's also here is this ability to look at the situation a little bit differently and to understand, hold on, that wasn't the only way that success could look. This could still be a version of what I want. Let me think it through. And it may, if through the right application, be something even better than what you originally thought you wanted. So that's one of the things that I think doesn't become apparent until you experience this catharsis of healing, which I feel like reduces a lot of those limitations. So now we go to that first mantra that I meditate on every day, which is about releasing expectations and assumptions and attachments around people and situations and outcomes. And so if you're releasing expectations around outcomes and you're saying, wait, the outcome no longer has to look a certain way, then you are reducing limitations and allowing more possibilities by definition. And here I think this is you being able to also say, hold on, this doesn't have to be a bad thing. So this is possibly that nuanced change that we're seeing that changes everything. So yeah, things will not be the same after this. So you've got this coming your way. You might be experiencing it now. Just know it's the catharsis is relatively momentary. The situation maybe is not. But then we've got the judgment card coming in here in the reverse. It's not a quick levitation to the next step. Okay, I mean, it is the catharsis, the healing, that piece helps you to level up, but there's an important, like, now the work begins kind of feeling. And we saw that as we were coming into August. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen. I'm just going to do it. I decided this year that as we watched the gates come through, as we watched them, I was going to determine if I wanted to do a reading for them. So do I want to do one for the 8/8 Lion's Gate? And I just decided I was going to, because I feel like this is very much relevant to that. This is powerful energy roaring through, but it is not by definition super easy to deal with. So let's get you some advice there. But either way, we're going to get you some advice here, regardless of what comes out in that Lionsgate reading. We're going to take a look at what you need to be doing next in this energy that you're living in now, because this is very much you. It's not the broader picture. It's the aspect of this overall situation that is you. And you have already yourself been working on something, challenge comes in while you're working on it, you get thrown off balance, and you figure out some things about yourself, but you also get a fairly significant amount of healing, something coming through that is catharsis level healing and nuanced change that you take on that changes everything. And during the quickening of this energy, you also have potentially the momentum to utilize that will help you kind of make up for the fact that the manifestation energy is feeling kind of average right now. And that's not bad. Average manifestation energy, like, that's fine. But this is going to be a way that you can use a little bit more of it as a springboard. So let's take a look at what you need to be doing next in this energy. We have the Death card, allowing in that change. So here comes something that's going to feel like a fairly significant change to you. That nuanced change, we're acting like it's small, may not feel small because of the significance that it has to your life. You have the Phoenix card coming in the reverse again. So you have two upside down phoenixes here. Not sure what the plural of phoenix would be. Phoenixes. Anyway, we've got the phoenix here in the reverse. This is about change not happening because it's not something that just bursts forth, okay? So this is going to be something that you're going to have to actively make the change and jump in with both feet before it can work. If you go halfway, this will not work. That's what this is telling us, okay? So that's kind of a big deal. None of this half stuff. That's not going to work. You're going to have to go all the way. And you got another one of these cards. My gosh. Okay, so in the tarot, you have 78 cards in a traditional tarot deck. And in this deck, all of them the traditional ones are all outlined in this blue foil. So here we have like the Page of Cups, we have the Death card over here, you have Major Arcana, you have Minor Arcana, and then in this deck you have a couple of extras. So the Phoenix here in the reverse is one of the extras, and so is the Celestial Weaver. And check out what this one is. This is manifestation energy, bonus manifestation energy that kind of comes from you and not from the surrounding area. So you will be the magic that happens here. We had a reading not too far back where your essence, like your personality, your essence was going to be the thing that really catapults you forward and makes things possible for you. And this is that. This is basically saying it's you. It's about you. It's not something that you bring. I mean, yes, your talent has to be there. Yes, you have to do the work. And there's definitely the sense of plenty of hard work. But this is about you being the product. Like, not necessarily you're selling yourself, but this is the reason that your life works the way that it's going to work is because of your essence and your personality. But you have to let it shine through. So we've got the Star here in the reverse. You're going to be inclined to go in some directions that are not especially helpful for you. I don't see this as a bad thing. Feels like trying out some stuff. Don't waste a bunch of time with things you aren't sure if they're working. So if you're trying out some things, whether it's with your personality, with how you present yourself, with dropping some egoistic things, which these are all things that you could be playing around with, don't make the assumption that trying these and going down the wrong road is a waste of your time. It sounds to me as though it is not, based on this. And then you've got the Hierophant. So the Hierophant here coming in the reverse looks like the releasing some of those more stiffer assumptions about, like, the stodgier assumptions about the way your life is going to work is going to be helpful. So maybe not making assumptions about some of the ways that you do things. There might be more than one way to do that actually works for you. It's worth looking. So let me see what I dropped here. Okay. Some cards face down. You never know. Sometimes I get some of the best ones when I drop them. Seven of Mirrors. Okay, so Seven of Mirrors, all about options, but in this case, it's about understanding your options. So you got to feel your way through pretty much everything, but in the background, you got to have the little the mini supercomputer going. You always got to have some idea of how these things come in and make a shift. So once again, it makes a strong argument for having a structure as you work through the seeking the wisdom, because as things come in, you have to have that structure that you can put them on. Like, you've built an outline, here's all the stuff I'm looking for, and here's where you get to say, okay, so here's how I understand my options, because they are complex, and they do look like they will be complex. So you've got the Wheel of Fortune, change coming at you. This feels like kind of what we see here as far as the what's going to come in for your gratitude meditation. You don't necessarily get to control that, but that's life. I mean, I don't feel like this is new to you, or that this should be anything you should be overly concerned about. You do have a particularly victorious air about you, which we also saw with the Knight of Spirals, that not only are you going to do well, but you're going to lead through it. And yes, you will do incredibly well, in case the Six of Spirals and the Corsair was not enough. Then you've got the Knight of Mirrors here in the reverse. So this is the Knight of Mirrors is water energy. It's the dreamer. It's choosing not to say some things, choosing not to express some things. And it is maybe something that is a little different from a direction that you were going to take something, where maybe you thought that you were going to go full transparency. There may be a reason not to go full transparency with something that you thought you were going to go full transparency with. So whatever that means, I don't know exactly why you would make the choice not to do that, but it sounds as though you will, and it feels to me as though that is a supported thing. So when you get there and you feel like, hold on, I need to not say all of the things, there's a reason. There's going to be somebody who was trying to keep a secret and you were getting ready to let go of it, or something like that. And I don't even think you know. I think it's just when you feel it, make sure you stop giving information then. Interesting. So I feel like this is another one of those mic drop moments. Like, we don't have an extended, this is the message. This is what needed to come to you. I do feel really good about this message. I know it talks about challenge coming and things like that, and things might look a little different, and you might have to kind of release some of your assumptions, but that is not an inconsistent message. You already got, in the last one of these, there was something about releasing the attachment to the outcomes, and here you're being told to kind of release your assumptions about the situations. So that feels very consistent to me, but now we're seeing a little bit more picture come in around it. So your reinvention energy is high. But you're going to have to kind of take everything in, understand how it fits, and then understand what you want to do with it. And then strike when the iron is hot. So here you are, time for a deep dive. Go forth and dive. This is your time. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. I love the way this has come out for you. I hope everyone watches this one. It feels like it's just good to know. We're going to do a reading. I did decide I would do the Lionsgate reading for August 8th. That's coming up here in a couple days. I will do it either tomorrow or on August 8th, depending on how the energy comes out. And we'll go from there. But thank you so much for being here with me, as always. And I look forward to seeing you again in the next reading.